Welcome to SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Tuesday, January 17th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. The first Sunflower Showdown of men's hoops is tonight when KU plays at K-State. And normally we'd wait until after the game to discuss, but we thought a preview would be in order today, especially after what Wildcats Coach Jerome Tang said about his hope for Kansas State fans. You'll hear about that at the top of the show. You'll also hear Kellis Robinett, the Kansas State beat writer. We'll discuss Tang's comments and then get into the game a little bit. After a break, we'll pick it up from the Kansas perspective and hear from Jalen Wilson and Bill Self from their Monday news conference. Okay, let's get started. Kellis, you were at the press conference on Monday where Jerome Tang made a statement that went viral, at least around these parts it did anyway, when he spoke about the fans. First of all, we're gonna hear what Jerome Tang said. In fact, let's do this. Let's play the Jerome Tang clip right now, and when we come back, I want to ask you the origin of the clip. So here we go. This is Jerome Tang at a Monday news conference in anticipation of playing the Kansas Jayhawks.
My message to our students, okay, because that I don't want them to show up to the game and yell and scream, and I don't want our fans to show up to the game because they hate the other team, right? I want them to show up because they love Kansas State, right? Our guys, every guy on our roster, they didn't pick this school because they hated somebody else. They picked this school because they love us as a staff, they love this community, and they love this university. And I would be real interested to see how we can really change this thing around if we're motivated by love, right, rather than by hate. And I just feel, and I know I'm upset some people, I feel like we, the Kansas State community and family, allow them to live rent-free in our heads way too much. Okay, this game, it's one game in the conference. If we win, we get one win. If we lose, we get one loss. That's it. I came to try and win a Big 12 championship and win a national championship. Okay, and the year we won the national championship, we split with these guys, right? And so that's my thing. Let's show up to the game because we love Kansas State. Let's show up to every game because we love Kansas State. Let's pack Bramlage and make it the Octagon of Doom because we love Kansas State, not because we hate somebody else.
We're back with Kellis Robinett. We're talking Sunflower Showdown, Kansas State entertaining KU tonight. This podcast is going to have a short shelf life. But anyway, how did really interesting comments. How did it start? Did someone ask him about the atmosphere, or where did it come from?
Well, I can tell you a few things. First off, Jerome Tang does not really like trying to build up this rivalry into something bigger than just like one game. He was asked quite a few questions about, what he thinks of the rivalry, and his initial response, he said this down in Fort Worth after they lost to TCU, but he repeated it here, was that he didn't even think it was a rivalry because Kansas State hadn't held up their end of the bargain, only winning like 6 games against Kansas during the Big 12 era. In his mind, rivalries are great games between good teams that fans show up, to watch, not knowing who's going to win. That's why they show up to watch, not because you just hate the team that's showing up in your building. So he wants it to, he said, I came here to change that. I came here to win games, make this a coin flip kind of game where we're winning half the time, if not all the time. And that I want to make it a real rivalry. And then people kept asking him about it. And his statement came from somebody asked, you're new to this. Most of your players are new to this. Have you, how many ex-players have you brought in to talk to people? How much research have you done on the rivalry? And he kind of just threw up his hands and said, none, absolutely zero. This rivalry is not that big of a deal. You people are making too much of way too much out of it. It's just one game. And by the way, here's what I think, is wrong with the rivalry. Basically, Kansas State fans bring too much hate to it. We need to bring more love. And that's kind of been his mantra, though. He was the guy when he heard the KU chant that K-State fans love to say at games, starts with an F, ends with the U. He was the guy, he was the ringleader that went out and changed it and got him to change it to KSU, more K-State, more K-State love right there. He wants that to carry over to the basketball arena. And I think that's what he was getting at. But yeah, pretty much he just, he views this as one game on the schedule, not the end all be all of the season. And I think that's where the statement comes from.
Less hate, more love. I like that theme. Should we all, we should all adhere to that. The live free, rent free inside, our heads, that's an interesting phrasing that we hear or see a lot on social media by the rival fans, right? And so I think that idea probably touches a nerve with Kansas State fans. So you wrote about it, and I read the comments from Kansas State fans on what you wrote. There was a lot of agreement with Tang on his sentiments, and some just flat out, crossed their arms and said, we appreciate what you're doing, Coach, and what you've done in your first year here, but you got this one wrong, and we're not going to change. Right. So, what was your reaction to it when you heard it?
I was surprised he went there.
First of all, let me say this: as a journalist, I know your reaction was, I got something to write.
Well, yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to come out of that with anything to write, but as soon as he said that, I said, well, I know I'm writing about this. Yes, I was surprised he went there. The rent-free comments, I think, was perhaps a bridge too far. I agree with mostly what he says. Come to the games because you support K-State, not because you hate KU. I get that. The rent-free thing, though, I mean, that's just a clip that, let's say KU wins this game. Fans, their social media account, they're going to be replaying that forever. It's kind of like the Missouri football coach showing up to their game against KU, holding up the sign that even though it was bad-mouthing KU, that's the most easily Photoshopped thing in the world that you can turn around and use against him in the future. So I bet he wishes he had that part of the comment back. And I've just been interested, like you, in the reaction. It's been more right down the middle than I thought it would be. A lot of people, are still in the honeymoon phase with them and say, hey, I love it. I love that our coach is saying this. But I have had some fans I respect reach out to me saying, what in the world is he talking about? Like, if he wasn't 15-2, I'd be really ticked that my basketball coach was saying this. And I kind of disagree with him a little bit. One of the great things about college sports rivalries that you don't get in other areas of sports is the close proximity, the passion. If it borders on hatred, so be it. That's what makes it great. KU going into Missouri, KU going into Bramlage, K-State going into KU, seeing all the signs that badmouth the other schools. That's what kind of makes it fun.
I agree with that, Kellis. There's a level of passion in college sports that doesn't exist in professional sports. And we can talk about Yankees and Red Sox, Celtics and Lakers. You can all the great sports rivalries, but nothing brings out the deep feelings and emotions like KU, K-State, KU, Mizzou, Auburn, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State, Texas, OU. I mean, Army, Navy. These are what, this is why, networks pay billions of dollars, for television contracts, so they can get those games that draw the highest ratings and the rivalries that do that. So I get, and I wish it were true too, that vulgarities weren't used by crowds at games. And if what he said can curtail that a little bit, then I applaud the sentiment, and I applaud the sentiment anyway, but it will have been worth whatever else grief he might take from it. I don't like the vulgarities. And listen, Kansas State is not alone in this. I can remember going to KU football games back in the Mangino era, and the FU chants were right before kickoff. It was audible for everyone to hear, including a TV audience. So nobody has cornered the market on that type of fan behavior. So, anyway, I also agree with the idea that, that the rivalry, I think Jerome Tang's interpretation of the rivalry, and he said as much, if Kansas State were on more equal footing in basketball with Kansas, fans wouldn't necessarily feel the way that they do and have to, cheer the way that they do. But I'm not sure that the cheering would change if they were on more equal footing in men's basketball or football. I think they would be the same. And listen, I think this is a little peek into his soul too, and what he's about and where he's coming from. And he showed us a little bit of that during his introductory press conference. And he's competitive. He's off to a great start at Kansas State, and it's not like he can't do any wrong. But I'm just I'll be fascinated to see what the reaction of the fans is tonight, and then what it's like for him going forward.
Agreed. Winning tonight would really cure all. No one will be worried about this if they win the game. If they play like they did against TCU, then maybe, and they have to deal with some backlash from KU fans after this. Maybe it's something they have to address. So I don't know. Maybe he just put a little bit more pressure on himself to win this game. But it is interesting though, because when a new coach steps into a rivalry like this, it's something the media always really likes to harp on. Oh, what do you think? It's your first chance, your first time in the rivalry. What do you think about it? And some coaches do, totally go the way most media members want. Oh yeah, we've done all this research. We're trying to embrace it, blah, blah, blah. It is interesting that Jerome Tang basically came in and said, well, I don't care what K-State fans have thought about in the past. Here's how I view it. You don't see that from many coaches. So I appreciate that there's no filter there. I've never really heard that before. It's a total different stance than Bruce Weber had on the rivalry, totally different than Frank Martin had on the rivalry. I think of those three coaches, I think Frank probably had it best in that he was, he respected KU, but he didn't like, much like Tang, he didn't like the records in the rivalry, but he went out and did something about it. Bruce Weber maybe leaned a little bit too far the other way. His favorite comment was, well, I've heard from fans say, I don't care what you do the rest of the season, just beat Kansas. And his retort to that was, well, if I went 2-0 against Kansas but lost every other game, you'd still be mad at me. And then Jerome has this completely unique take on it. It's fascinating. It really is.
Well, let me just say, I'll be terribly disappointed if some Kansas State students don't show up tonight wearing, an angel halo or some sort of angel outfit, and the TV cameras don't capture that, because that would be taking the comment in good spirit, and I would love to see that. So maybe
they do like Nebraska football used to, and applaud the visiting team as they come onto the court. That would show that they have totally bought into Jerome Tang if they do that.
Yeah. If they start waving the weed at the end if KU wins, though, we'll know they've gone a little too far. Hey, so what about the game? Like I said, I know we got a short shelf life, but we can at least get our thoughts on what we think might happen today. Kansas State coming off a tough loss down at TCU. Kansas can't seem to create any separation in its Big 12 games, but they win them all. So what do we think happens tonight when number 13 Kansas State entertains number 2 KU?
Yeah, it's a really fascinating matchup. I think you could just call it a pick 'em if you wanted to in Vegas. But they did pick a side. They've got KU -2.5 here. So close to a pick 'em. You could certainly make an argument either way. What's fascinating to me is that Kansas State, like you mentioned, they're coming off their worst game of the year. I mean, they just look bad at TCU, turned the ball over way too much, gave up way too many free buckets. Marquise Noel finally cooled off. So what's their reaction to this? Were they exposed? Is that something that KU can do the same thing, use the same strategy and beat them here tonight? Or did they get their bad game out of the way? Were they looking ahead to KU a little bit? Now they come out and play their best game in a bounce back spot. I think you could argue it either way. I think if Keontae Johnson and Marquise Noel get back to what they were doing and combine for something like 50 points, I think they've absolutely got a shot here, especially with the home crowd behind them. I mean, people were talking about how great the crowd was when Oklahoma State came to town. It's going to be up, another level, probably 5 levels beyond that for this game. My question about that, though, is like, how much is that going to matter against KU? If it was against like Texas or something, yeah, I'd be all over K-State here. But think about what Kansas has done this season. They already went into the Hornets' nest in Columbia and won. They already won at Texas Tech. They already won at West Virginia. Like, is this crowd really? Are they going to walk out in this crowd and be intimidated by it? I don't know. I don't see it being any worse than Missouri was probably. So, how much does the home court matter? I don't know. And Kansas does have some of the same personnel that TCU had. If I had to pick a side, I'd maybe pick KU close, but I think it'll be a good game and it really come down to it. If K-State brings their A game, I think they win. But if both teams bring their B game, I think KU wins, and that's kind of how I see it.
That's interesting. I know that over in Lawrence, after the game on Saturday when they beat Iowa State and in the days after that, one of the subjects was, when Kansas was down 15 at halftime of the national championship game in North Carolina, one of the reasons they felt confident they can come back and win was because of what they did at Bramlage earlier that year. And the big comeback down, I forgot what the halftime deficit was, or the 16 K-State led at halftime, and KU came all the way back for the win. So that's I know this team really has not been impacted by environment or circumstances in a game. It is a tested team, but what will really impress me is if Kansas State finds a way to win a game in a style that's different than the way they won at Texas and at Baylor, where the scores were high. If they can, get the game slowed down a little bit and win a game in the 70s or that would really, really impress me. And I think it's very possible. But Marquise Noel has to have he's got to have a good game. And take DeJuan Harris out of the game as much as he can. Iowa State did a good job of that on Saturday. So can't wait to see it. We'll probably have to wait a few days to talk about it, but that's sometimes how it goes when we schedule these conversations. We just had to get the Jerome Tang comments in on our board to discuss today.
The other wild card I see in this game, I can't remember if we mentioned this last week when we talked with Shrius and Gary, but last year, the thing that really turned the tide in KU's favor, other than K-State just not shooting the lights out in the second half, was South went to some junk defenses in the second half and broke out a triangle and two, probably even went box and one for a little bit. That's something he's done just notoriously against K-State over the years. It seems like a lot of times it looks like K-State's got them where they want them, and then all of a sudden Self pulls out a defense they haven't seen before, and it totally changes the game. I really wonder how much this team can handle something like that. I actually, that was a question I had for Jerome Tang yesterday before he went on his rant. And he said that other teams have actually played triangle and two against K-State, so he wasn't too worried about it. But KU would really stick to it. They did that last year. They went triangle and two for like 15 minutes to win the game. And nobody else is going to do that. No other team in the conference is going to just throw a junk defense at K-State for that long. So that's something I'll be interested in. Hey, I'm looking forward to it. This should be one of the better Sunflower Showdown games we've had in a while. Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, you'll hear from KU's Jalen Wilson and Coach Bill Self from their press availability on Monday. But we bid farewell to Kellis. Appreciate the conversation. Talk to you again soon.
Anytime.
Hey, Jalen, do you remember your very first trip to Manhattan? And secondly, can you give us an idea of what it's really like there on the court when you're in the middle of what happens when you're there?
My first time was during like the Kobe year, so it wasn't really too crazy. Kind of like a normal game with how many fans were allowed to come. But last year was kind of like my real first time in Manhattan with all the fans and stuff like that, and it was super crazy. The fans are like, I think they're there before we even get there, and as soon as we walk in, they saw all the boos and chants. But it's a great atmosphere, especially I feel like this probably will be the best one I've seen yet, just because of how great the season's going. So I'm looking forward to it.
Did you ever play against Keontae when you were in high school?
No, never did.
I guess when you've seen him on film, I guess what stands out about him?
Well, he's very athletic, very tall for a guard position, and I think he can score at three levels very well. And he hasn't got to play a lot because of some of his health problems, but he's been around college for a long time, so he knows, exactly, what to do, and, he's been a key role in the success this year.
How different is K-State, this team you see now, compared to when you guys played last year?
Probably the biggest thing I see is like the confidence. I think last year they may have, it was close last year, and I think it may have surprised some of the people. But now, like this year, they know they can beat teams. They know they can play with a lot of different people, and that's kind of been the difference. And what I've seen is just as far as how they carry themselves, how they're playing. They're playing with great confidence. Going to Austin and play like that, I mean, they're a good team this year.
Jalen, you've gone through the draft process before. Does it enter your mind at all that this could be your last time in Manhattan for a game?
No, I kind of just been soaking in everything as much as I can. I never really think about the NBA because I know that this is what it's all about right now, and this will carry on to wherever I want to do after this. Winning now and winning every game that we face.
You mentioned the Missouri game is helping, you guys get ready for an environment like this. Is that what you've been telling guys like Grady and Ernest and those guys who haven't been in it before, or do you tell them about last year at all, or what's your thought on that?
I kind of think Mizzou was a great way to prepare for that. I think Mizzou's gym probably was a little bit more louder, and I think Mizzou's just more of a hatred for us, as far as K-State and Mizzou go. So I think it's a great prep for us. We're used to a lot of noise, a lot of crowds anyways. So, any of the boos and chants kind of be something that we've already heard before.
Grady's not new to this rivalry, right? It's his first year playing it, but he grew up with it. Do you feel like the guys in the locker room, Kansas kids, are not understand kind of the magnitude of this rivalry and how much it means to the fans?
If they don't, coach will make sure they do by tomorrow. I've personally never lost to them, so, it's something that I've always carried with myself, just that pride of never losing to those certain schools that, that we don't personally get along with the best. So, today we'll just let them understand, what this means to a lot of different people. That's one thing I feel like we always step up to the plate for is games that, I mean, lots of different people around that support us, and I feel like we carry that well.
Jalen, one last question about Saturday. Your shot's not going down. You're fighting for, I think, an offensive board. There's a scrum. You're against the shot clock, and then you throw up something. I don't even know if you knew where you were throwing it. It goes down, but can you just go in detail on that play?
Oh, yeah. I was kind of just scrambling on the ground. I had just got my shot blocked when I went in there, and I just seen the ball on the ground. It just kept getting closer and closer to me, and I was like, man, I might be able to pick this ball up and shoot it. And because I knew the shot clock was going down, and I just picked it up and put a little float on it, and it went in. So that's really what it was.
I think all the attention going to you when you were scoring so many points probably freed up KJ a little bit, but now that he's getting so much offense, maybe that gets balanced out a little bit. But can you just talk about the defense you've been getting and how now teams have to really prep for KJ offensively?
Yeah, no, KJ's been great. KJ has he's given us a whole another look at our game because he's so effective in that short post area. I mean, giving the ball off the roll, he's been terrific as far as his playmaking and also just has been able to finish. And guys are always going to change their way. Not going to let me drive right and play me on certain plays they know. But we got 5 guys out there that can do pretty much anything that they want to do. And it's like if guys take one thing away, we got guys like KJ stepping up to the plate and showing his confidence and showing what he can do. And I think that's what makes us a team. You gotta have 5 guys there that are willing and able to help. And that was just something like we did last year. Guys always try to take Oach out, and we just have to find a way to help them. And and we have to step up to the plate when guys do that. And that's exactly how we created a great team last year.
How much have you watched K-State? Not film, but just when they're on TV or whatever when you're not playing?
I haven't seen too much just because I don't really click K-State when I see it. But I'll watch more today and tomorrow for sure before the game. But I definitely respect them. They're definitely a great team. They have some great wins on the road and at home. So we'll need to prepare for that.
And along those lines, what do you remember from last year about Noel? Tough dude. He's one of the only guys that got back.
Yeah, no, very tough dude. Really doesn't play with any conscience at all. He's confident wherever he's out on the court, shooting the ball, talking to the crowd, talking to us. Those are games I love. I love when it's competitive like that. And, he's a very confident dude. He's the leader of the team. So, we're going to have to really pray for him and the way he plays.
Jalen, just going back to last year, obviously the Carolina game down 15, Oklahoma State down 15, Oklahoma down 10 with 5 to go. What is it about this team really that it kind of allows you guys to, eke out those wins and not panic and kind of stay the course?
Probably just all of our mindsets and, how Coach prepares us for games like that. A lot of times in preseason, before we play, we're going through different situations, and he'll put us on a team down 10 with 3.5 minutes, and we got to find a way to win. I feel like we work on that so much during the off season and preseason that when it comes to game time, we've seen certain situations. If it's bonus, double bonus, different things like that, and so kind of when we get to the game, it becomes second nature, and especially with how like you said, the championship with, like, we just have the ultimate confidence in ourselves that no matter what the score is, we'll get the job done. Thank you.
I know it's been a while, but do you remember your first trip to Manhattan as coach here?
Was that when they threw the live chicken down on the floor? I can't remember if that was the first or second time that we played there. But the first game, no, I don't remember. I don't remember. I think Jim was coaching, if I'm not mistaken, but I can't remember the first one.
And I think you guys have won, 3 in a row there. Obviously, different teams. But what stands out about this team when you look at them as you get ready for tomorrow night?
As far as K-State's team, well, I think they're a lot more talented. I think that offensive firepower is doubled. They lost Pack, obviously, but they've replaced him with some guys that can really score the ball. And Noel's having a Player of the Year type year. Johnson is if he's the second leading scorer in our league right now, or third, or whatever, he's having an unbelievable year. And it's a great story. And then they've also recruited unbelievably well. I don't want to bash anybody's name, so I won't say, but they're starting 3-man, number 35. He's a pro prospect. He's an NBA prospect. I'm really impressed with their talent level and what the staff was able to do in a short amount of time.
Jalen's mentioned a couple times that the Missouri game can prepare this team well for a game like this. Do you think that's fair? Is that how you would see it?
I think there's some similarities from an environment standpoint, for sure. They were ready. Missouri's ready for us when we went there, and K-State will obviously be ready for us when we go there. I think from an environment standpoint, definitely. I really think that K-State, you lose at TCU, which, a lot of people are going to lose at TCU. But up until this point, they have been the most impressive team from a beating and playing well at the hardest places. The win against Texas was incredible, and of course the win at Baylor was incredible. Nobody's had 2 better wins than that in our league. So they're capable of definitely playing at a high level against anybody in the country, and they've already shown they can do it. And they'll be playing with a lot of momentum in the stands tomorrow. So it should be a really fun atmosphere, really fun.
You've seen it both ways, where they're pretty good and where they're struggling. Is it more fun when they're good?
Is it more fun
to play in this game when they're good, when they're this good?
I think it's fun. I think it's good for our league when everybody plays well. I don't think it's good for us at all when they play well against us. I'm not at all disappointed or anything that Iowa State and K-State have been the surprises in our league thus far. I think that it's great. They're good stories. I think that that's what makes our league great, is that there's absolutely nobody in the bottom. And to be honest with you, you can't say our league is top heavy anymore. When 5 teams are ranked in the top 14, that means it's just a heavy league. It's not just top heavy, because if I'm not mistaken, Baylor's 21, so that makes 6 in the top, 6 out of 10, and so it's not a top-heavy league. Everybody's good, so but there's certainly no bottom feeders in our league, and so I think having everybody be good like this is good for us indirectly, because from a respect standpoint and how people evaluate our league and value our league, I think it's good for everybody. But certainly we don't want them to play well at our expense, no question.
How about from a preparation standpoint? Like, do you get your guys' attention more when they're ranked and stuff? Or
it's a rivalry game, regardless if we're both ranked or not. But certainly I think it adds a lot more to it when both teams are good, and certainly both teams are good. From a preparation standpoint, I mean, you guys, and you have to do so. You got to approach it like in your reporting. Basically, a lot of the reports happen the day of the game, and here we are. We haven't even practiced yet. I mean, so we play Saturday. We didn't practice yesterday. We're exhausted, and that event all weekend. That's a lot of standing for our guys and everything. So we told them to get away from basketball yesterday. So we haven't even talked about how we're going to defend this or that yet. So for a preparation standpoint, it needs to be a crash course. And hopefully we're able to pick up on some stuff. But I actually thought bodies were more important than preparation. And I'd be surprised if Jerome didn't feel the same way. This league is such a grind. The rules say you have to take 1 day off a week. I'm not sure this isn't a 2 day off a week league. You play on Saturday, you take Sunday off. You play on Tuesday, you take Wednesday off. I actually, if you play Saturday, Wednesday, you take Sunday and Thursday off. I think the league has become that, and because I mean, I know you guys have, but I just studied it today for the first time that I've studied it. But you play Iowa State, and then you go to K-State, then you got TCU, then you go to Kentucky, then you have Baylor, then you have K-State again, and then you have Iowa State, and then you have Texas. That's our next 7 games. I mean, that's comical. That's so. I think the preparation will be as much studying in a large part than it will be actually on the court in many ways, because this is a joke. And no matter how you feel one week, it can be the 180 the next week, either direction.
That'll do it for today. Thanks to George Howard for producing today's show, and to our SportsBeat KC staff of Jeff Rosen, Scott Chasen, Monty Davis, and Randy Mason. Tip of the cap to Kellis Robinett for sharing his insights. Morning Sports Edition was 43 pages today, with plenty of stories on tonight's game, plus news about Mizzou basketball, the NFL playoffs, and much more. Check it out at liveedition.kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with another SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.